Hello Internet, it's a beautiful sunny day outside, so naturally I'm going to draw the blinds and sit in the dark and watch a horror movie. It's hot out there, it's way too hot. This little fella isn't impressed, he's tuckered out. I don't do well in the sunshine anyway. To be honest, I start to sparkle. Kirsten Stewart won't leave me alone, it's an absolute nightmare. So best to shut the blinds and watch Wrong Turn 3. So we'll do that after a quick word from our sponsors. So we're cutting into our third slice of Wrong Turn pie with Wrong Turn 3 left for dead. All new talent on board. New writer Connor James Delaney checked his IMDb credits. This is the only thing he's written. Brand new director Declan O'Brien. So we better hope we're in safe hands, because looking at the credits for part 4 and part 5, Declan O'Brien directs this and then writes and directs parts 4 and 5. So he's got his hands firmly on the Wrong Turn wheel, so hopefully he won't steer us in the wrong direction. Oh, I can't believe. Should I even upload that gag? Maybe someone's put something in my Pringles, because I don't hate this at the moment. And I've read some really bad things about this movie online. I thought we were really in trouble. At the start, we're introduced to 4 teenagers, 2 girls, 2 guys, and we get a joint at the 3-minute 9-second mark, and we get tits at the 3-minute 29-second mark. But 3 of those teens are dispatched in really quick succession after that, and for the most part the kills are really nice practical kills that really reminded me of the spirit of Friday the 13th part 3 or something like that, apart from one really unfortunate misstep with some CGI that was cut in with some practical effects. It's only on screen for a few seconds. I'm going to give him a pass, because I can see that they made the practicals. I can see that they needed a shot to get from the guy as is to the guy sliced into 3 pieces. They needed a transition shot. To be perfectly honest, I would have preferred it if they'd done it 100% practically and had been a little bit more creative. But I'm going to be really charitable and think that maybe they just couldn't get the shot they wanted and decided to do something in CGI in post. It shows, it sticks out like a sore thumb, it's horrible. I'm really hoping that it's practical all the way from here on in. But I was thinking it was going to be another teens running around the woods, but all bar one of them are killed, so I think 6 minutes in we've already got our final girl, who's going to be the only survivor of that rafting trip that we see that lasts about 6 minutes, and then we switch completely to a prison, and there's a prisoner transport that's going on, but there's a high-profile convict on the transport, so they move the date up and take him on an undisclosed route through the old mill road. Remember that toxic mill from part 2? And there's quite a lot of stuff going on at the moment. You've got a couple of the convicts, the high-profile one, and someone else have made a deal to bust them out when they're on their transport. One of the prisoners is an undercover US Marshal, because the Marshal Service has got wind of the prison break, so they're going to try and stop it or catch them in the act. One of the guards, it's his last day on the job, so cliche alert. Drink a shot for that cliche. Oh, there was one really brief shot of the guy on the last day of his job looking at his phone, and there was no signal. Drink another shot. So that'll be 4 shots now for joint, tits, no cell phone reception, and last day on the job. But the transport bus gets attacked. The guards think it's the escape plan that they're trying to foil, but it's not. It's our cannibals. So at the moment we've got a group of hardened convicts. Oh, one of them's not a hardened convict. He has been convicted for murder, but he's an ex-marine and just pushed the guy and he fell over, and it was an accident, so he's innocent, so he's the one innocent convict. Drink another shot, that's 5 shots. I'm not advocating binge drinking. Don't do that. Have a Pringle, 5 Pringles. And so now we've got some hardened convicts and a couple of prison guards out in the West Virginia woods. So the dynamics completely changed. I'm hoping that they're going to do something original and good with it, because at the moment it's not just a retread of what we've seen before. We've got some tooled up hardened criminals versus inbred hillbilly cannibals. I really hope they don't screw this up. We're an hour in, and let me try and lay out as simply as possible why I'm still digging this movie. Very simply, direction and script. Let's deal with the direction first. Declan O'Brien, the director, who IMDb tells us is the man that gave us Sharktopus, is actually directing this really solidly. There's nothing flashy, but it's assured, it's steady, and compared to the direction of Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, Dead Bell End by Joe Lynch. Joe Lynch, he obviously figured that since the whole premise of that film was that they were shooting a reality TV show, it needed all sorts of MTV style shaky cam, fast cut directions to make it look like the kind of show that they were shooting, but he wasn't. He was shooting Wrong Turn 2, not Ultimate Survivalist. Declan O'Brien in this is much more confident. We're taking our time with the story, and let's talk about the story. Continuity fans. This is a continuity fan's dream, and what it tells me is that the writer of this movie paid attention to the first film and the second film. He's written a continuation of both, but tried to work out what worked in both and what didn't work in both. These are little things, but continuity things like this really push my buzzer. There are 2 cannibals in this. We've got Three Finger and a boy of about 10, 12. So if you imagine that this film is set maybe about 10 years or so after Wrong Turn 2, then the 2 cannibals we're dealing with in this are the 2 surviving cannibals from part 2, Three Finger and that awful, awful puppet muppet baby. We've had the Old Mill Road referenced already, so that's a reference to the mill in part 2. Best of all, the group of convicts and a couple of the correctional officers who meet up with the final surviving member of the 4 teenagers from right at the start of the movie are going through the woods. Chavez, the leader of the convicts, has found out that one of the correctional officers, the guy whose last day on the job it is, used to grow up in the area, so he's trying to guide them through the woods. And he is trying to take them to the Forest Rangers watchtower that he knows is there, and he knows there's some CB equipment there. They've just got there, and it's the watchtower from the first movie that got burnt down, that our kids got trapped in and burnt out of in the first movie. So it's a lovely reference to the first movie. I know it's a small thing, but it puts a smile on my face. It just means that this guy has paid attention and actually cares about what's going on. Three Fingers setting traps again. We're back to the backwoodsman hunters. In part 2, the cannibals were all tooled up. They all had guns. There were far too many roads. They were all driving everywhere, and there was no sense that anyone was lost in these woods like there was in the first movie. We're back here again, and there's a deep overriding sense that we're lost in the woods again. So we've got that. The traps are excellent. Three Fingers essentially picking them off one by one. Exactly how we need. razor wire, scythes, spikes. It's good stuff. The convicts find a security van from about 50 years ago which is full of money, so there's an added little bit of spice there. There's lots of infighting between the convicts, but Chavez, who's calling the shots, realises that if he kills people, that's less bags of money that can be carried, and there are all these sorts of bits of infighting and negotiations going on and the like. So the correctional officer has been walking them around in circles, hoping they don't notice, because come dawn the transport is expected at the prison, so they'll send a search party out. Chavez knows that his people are coming out. The Rangers from West Virginia are out there looking for them as well. So there are all these elements in play. The only ball that got dropped is that the US Marshal that was posing as a convict to try and prevent the prison break from happening gets killed without the fact that he's a US Marshal coming into play really at all, apart from the fact that right at the start he provided the information that there was going to be a prison break. So that information made them took a different route down Mill Road. That's it. There was never really a point where he flipped and his status as a US Marshal suddenly became clear. That said, for a large portion of the middle of the film, the convicts have got out of their handcuffs, but they haven't got out of their leg irons. So when the US Marshal gets his face scythed off, they have to take a knife and cut his legs off at the knees. It's easier to cut through the knee joint apparently because there's no bone to get through. So there's a small portion of the film where they're all still in leg irons, but they have to carry his legs still in the shackles, but cut off from the knee down. They've got the shackles off now, but it's good fun. It's a story, and it just so happens that the story is taking place in the West Virginia woods, and Three Finger is picking them off one by one. Body counts 7, half an hour to go. I'm really surprised I'm enjoying this movie as much as I am. So let's watch the final leg. Well, that, my friends, was really good fun. Hey, guess what? There's a shack and they don't go in it. They go in it at the end. Well, one of them does because they have to, but the group of convicts find a shack and they don't go in it. I love it. It's a solid sequel. It did really everything I wanted it to do, and a little bit more. If I was going to be really picky, there's a propensity in it to add CGI blood to practical effects. So if arrows come out or knives go in, they'll add CGI blood rather than squibs. I'm not a great fan of that. It never really looks good. They kind of get away with it more in this film because pretty much the entire film more or less takes part at night, so I can't tell whether the cannibal makeup effects were particularly good or bad, because they were working to their strengths. Obviously in part 2 the budget was a lot less than part 1, and you can tell in the makeup effects of the cannibals, but they chose to put them in bright sunshine and have them front and centre of the movie, and you could tell here Three Fingers in the background a lot of the time. He's in, he's out, he's laying traps, he's backlit, it's in the dark, so he looks good to all intents and purposes. I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end of the film. I know I pretty much laid out the entire plot of part 2 in that review, possibly shouldn't have done. But it was just so ridiculous that it made me angry and I wanted to talk about it. This is, I don't want to tell you what happens at the end here. The body count's 15. There's a really nice little sting at the end, which again just shows that the writer has seen the first 2 movies, he knows what normally happens in these films, and he twists your expectations a little bit. He knows that at the end of the first two movies it ends with a guy and a girl driving away, and he mixes things up a little bit, all for the better. I called Three Finger dead at the end of Wrong Turn 1, aka Wrong Turn. I called Three Finger dead during Wrong Turn 2 dead bell end. Dare I call Three Finger dead at the end of Wrong Turn 3 left for dead? I would actually suggest, if you've got any interest in seeing this movie at all, find out for yourself. Wrong Turn 4 is called Bloody Beginnings, I think. Excuse me, you're sitting on the box. Yes, just put you back on the box. Wrong Turn 4 is called Bloody Beginnings, so I believe we're in for a prequel next. So I think old Three Finger will be back, even although it's going to be in prequel form. I really liked it. I don't want to add too many details because I was surprised with what it did. Maybe my expectations were so low going into 2 that this one surprised me, but it's solid. And really, horror fans, we get whipped a lot. We get whipped like dogs a lot. We get given substandard stuff. We've actually come to expect sequels and continuing sequels to be subpar, and we'll give them a lot of slack for that. And I think because we're treated like that, if anything raises its game just even slightly, I know I do, I respond much more favourably to something that tries to lift its game even slightly. This is one of them. After reading the negative stuff about it online, I'm really surprised at how much I actually enjoyed that. So I don't know, I'm either doing something right or something wrong going against the herd here, but I am now eager to see 4, and I'm off to go and buy some meat.